There will be one that I did yesterday, but I may as well record this one anyway. Sorry. So we've stuck two pieces of A4 paper together. We've then stuck it onto our desktop so it's nice and straight using our T-square or using our to measure in from the edge of the board. And then what I have done is I've measured down 2 meters at 1 to 25, which I've just explained to everybody. Just let me, is that the scale is 1 to 2.5, or your ruler might have on it 1 to 2, 1 to 25. Okay, just depends on which ruler you bought. Hopefully you'll have the 1 to 2.5. We're doing a 2-point perspective, and we're going to have a grid, which I like to put underneath here. It's going to be 500 by 500 millimeters at this scale. So that's all the information that I need to know about this grid that I'm drawing up, so that if you want to use it again for something else, you can, so that you know what scale you're drawing at without having to measure everything up again. All right. Now, at either end of here, because it's a 2-point perspective, we need 2 points of reference, or 2 vanishing points. So we're going to use the very edges of our page along the horizon line. So from over here, right at the very edge here, this is going to be my vanishing point 1. And over this side to the right, this is going to be my vanishing point 2. And vanishing point is just VP, just to make it. So I'll write vanishing point, and I normally do an equals VP. So that's the shorthand version for vanishing point, VP. So if I refer to it as VP1 and VP2, you know that I'm talking about a vanishing point. All right, now when we first did 1-point perspective, depending on where you put the dot on the back wall of the 1 point, because we virtually were drawing up to, we drew up an elevation, but this time we'll be doing something slightly different. We knew that if we put the dot on this side of our drawing, I'd see more of that wall. If I put the dot on that side of my drawing, I'd see more of this wall here. So as far as, I just have to get something to draw on for you. So I'll just do it on here quickly. So we had a 1 point. So we drew up a wall. We had a horizon line, and then we chose where our point was, always along the horizon line. So we just had it off center. If I put it on this side, this wall will look like it's much closer than this wall. Yep. Yep. So this wall looks like it's a bit wider. So if I want to see more of this side of the room, I'll put my vanishing point on there. And that's a 1-point perspective. Okay. I see 3 walls. I'll see 1, 2, 3 walls, and a floor and a ceiling. Okay. With a 2-point perspective, you still have a horizon line, but you have 2 points of reference. So there's only 1 point of reference there. This one has 2 points, 1, VP, 2. And depending, like with the dot in here, depending on which side I do this line, or the corner of the room, and I'll say that that's the corner of my room, I will see varying different degrees of what the room will look like. Sorry, I need to do that a bit better. So this wall may look like it's coming closer than this wall. If I did that again and I put the line on the other side, this is my horizon, this is my room, this wall will be smaller. So see how, depending on which side you put this line, which is the corner of the room, is it's going to show either one or the other one. So with a 2 point, you only see two walls, a floor and a ceiling. Okay, so you only see 2 walls in a 2 point, 3 walls in a 1 point. And I will just put 2 point written up here. Perspective. So you know what that is. Sorry, I tend to do things, put my paper sideways. I'm sorry if it sort of looks a bit weird when I'm writing. So that's sort of the difference between the two. You only see 2 walls and you'll see 3 walls in a 1 point. And depending on which side you put the corner of the room will give you a different view of how much you see of either wall. Remembering that in a 2 point, and put that up there, 2 point perspective, you only see 2 walls, 1 floor and 1 ceiling. Okay, so this is what we're drawing. Oh, this one here and this one here. Okay, so we are going to go, here's the middle of our page, there's our horizon line. We are going to make our wall sit on this side, or the corner of our wall sit on the right hand side of the page. So I'm just going to measure it in from here. You don't have to have the same measurement every time. I'm just giving you measurements so that you guys end up with the same drawing that I've got. Okay. Yep. So from the right hand side, at 1 to 2.5, I'm going to measure in 4 meters. Now it looks quite odd on here, because what you get is you'll get 0.5. It's 0.5 of a meter. 0.1 is 1 meter. 0.15 is
1.5 meters.
Yep, etc., etc. So it won't be a 2. It's for this reason it does it as 0.2. It's the way and the nature in which this scale works. I won't go into it too much, but just recognize that's a 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, etc. So I will measure in 4 meters from the side of my right hand side at 1 to 2.5. You can measure it that way. I did it that way because I like to put the 0 on the end of the thing, and I think you guys can see it a bit better. Put a mark there. Do it again further down the page, so that if you don't have your T-square, you can line 2 points of reference up and just draw a line that goes about that big. Not terribly big, just enough so it intersects. Now where these 2 points meet, okay, where that X is, that is going to be where we measure down. We are going to have a ceiling height, and I'll put the ceiling height, which is CH, equals 2,700 millimeters. All right, so 2,700 millimeters at 1 to 2.5, which I can't find, is going to be, there's 2.5, 6, 7.
Yep.
I'll mark that there. The other thing I'm going to mark is I'm going to mark the 0.15. That's 1 meter 500. And I want that one because I want to put the 0.15 on that crossing over point.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. And then I'm going to come down to my 0 and I'm going to mark off every 500 going up the wall. There's my 25 and I'll have 27. Excellent. And then I can get rid of the bottom of this. Okay, so that it doesn't. So that's my 0. That's my 500. That's my 1 meter. That's my 1500. That's my 25. And that's my, no, that's my 2.
No, that's my 2. And 2, 5. And
Good, glad you're here. And then that's 27. Now, you don't have to write that on there because it could make it really difficult, but I just wanted to do that so you understood.
Yep.
I'm going to get rid of those now because they'll interfere with my drawing too much. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to use this point, 1 point, to draw lines coming out from my 0 through my 500, etc., etc. Well, with the horizon's fine here, here, and here. All right. Now, if you don't have a ruler that's long enough, just start to draw the line out and then line your ruler up and continue onwards. So you bring it out a bit further. Or if you've got a longer ruler, that would be great. I'm going to use my longer ruler. This is actually my set square. Get that out of the way so it stops getting hooked. Okay. This is my dreadful set square. Then from my vanishing point, 25, that's the 2 meters. I've already got the horizon line. There's that one, and there's this one, and there's this one. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to use this one, which is the second vanishing point, and I'm going to do the same, and they're going to draw all the other lines coming out here like this. 1, 2, 3. Is that on that? Yep. And then that one, and then that one. Okay, and then this one. Okay, so this is what you should have on either side of your page. This vanishing point draws all of these lines coming out here. This vanishing point draws whatever's on this side of the room here. Now we need to put a grid on the wall and a grid on this wall so we can put a grid on the floor, because we can't put the grid on the floor until we put a grid on both these walls because they help us work it out. Now, yesterday I did a bit of a wrong thing, but anyway, if you line your ruler up against here and you gradually move it out until the first one, around about where the middle of this is, this looks like a sort of a nice kind of shaped square. It's not really a square yet. It's still sort of a rectangle, but it is a square. So I do it by judgment. If you don't want to do it by judgment, you can, I will give you the measurement, but use the measurement only on the horizon line because that's the only straight thing. At 1 to 2.5, that one is 4. So that's 400 on that side. Now, before I go any further, I only draw the first one. Okay? And the reason why I only draw the first line, that I'm going to draw again because it's not really quite straight enough for me, is so that I can work out if that's a good measurement, because I want my squares in perspective to start looking more like a square around about here, sort of halfway through this, what would be this wall. So I've got 1, 2 walls, I've got a floor and a ceiling.
That's it.
Okay, and to do that, what you do is you put your ruler between this point down here and diagonally across to the top of this box here. And then you follow, you can either draw a continuous line, although it can get a bit much, or you can just, every time your ruler intersects, just put a little mark on these lines out here. That way it doesn't become too overbearing. And if you need to change it, you're not rubbing out a whole lot of stuff. Now I'm stopping on this 2500 line here because I've only got 200 left at the top here.
Yep.
I don't want to mark up there because it will ruin my grid. So I'm only going to keep to the 500s that I've got here. And I'm going to ignore the 2. Once you've done that and you've got this marking across here, you can check it using your T-square by bringing all of these lines. I don't like my T-square, it's horrible. By drawing a line further down the page, then I'm going to put that line in. It's so you don't draw all over here. And then I will, where those 2 intersect, I'll draw another line. Where those 2 intersect, I'll draw another line, and etc. and etc. So when I look at this, if this looks like they're good distances apart, then I'll keep it. If it looks like it's still too close together, then I may want to make it, change this first one. But let's just go with what we've got at the moment. If I do need to add any more onto my grid, I can always stick another piece of paper here. Don't panic. You'll still use the same vanishing point, but you can bring it out further, but I don't think we'll have to do that. So now I'm just going to draw these lines in now where they intersect on that side and that side. And so this is looking like it's going quite square here, which I'm very glad about. And here. So at the moment I've got 1, 2, 2.5. I want to make this 3.5. So I'm going to add 2 more sets of squares. To do that, I'll go back to, and I'll count. I'm just going to count in 2 because I only need 2. And I'll do that same thing where I put my ruler between that point and that point. And then make sure the rest of your ruler lines up with the other points where they intersect these lines coming up here. And then I'll put that there, and the other one's off the page, so I don't really have it. That's okay. Take that away, and then that's going to give me another step out again. As I said, if I wanted to make it come out further, I could stick paper here. However, I would still use the same vanishing point. And what happens is it goes from a 2-point to a 3, sort of a 3-pointy thing. But we're not going to go there because I'll just confuse you. So just do that. So that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you've got sort of half a 7th one, which is really not quite 500. So we're just going to ignore that last one. Let's just stick with the 6. Now we'll do the same on this side of the wall. Again, I'm going to move this away. Line my ruler up with the existing one, move it out until it sort of looks like it's square. Might not be exactly the same measurement, but we want it to look fairly square, so I'll just put a marker there. I think that might be okay. Let's see what size that's. That's 3.5, almost 4. So I just put a mark on my ruler so that I can see it a bit better. So this should go straight up like that. So that's where I'm going to put the first one. Very lightly to begin with. And then as we did on this side, I'm going to do that to this side. Okay. From that corner through to the top corner of here. Mark them off. Don't draw a line all the way through, and only go up to the 25. Don't go up to the 27. Just mark up to the 25. And then again, what I will do is I will, down the bottom of my page, very lightly, I'll erase this later, I'm just going to mark them down here to see if they look like they're coming out okay. So that's where the starting point is. That's getting bigger, 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 and gigantor. Oh, look, I think that'll be okay. I'm going to go with that. If I don't like it, or if I do a lot, oh, okay. What I am going to do is I'm going to check this here. I'll go to my vanishing point. I'll do that. And then I'll go to there and down the bottom of that one, and I'll do that. Does that look like a square on the ground?
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. It looks like a square.
Good. Okay, well, I'll go with those measurements. The thing is if you don't like it or it's not working for you, you can always change it. I try and make sure I check everything so I don't have to change it. Again, I use my judgment. That way, when you're drawing a freehand perspective, you can, you know what things look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so again, I'm going to extend this wall. It's starting to get a little bit too big here, but let's give it a go. Let's see. I'm going to go count down 3 squares altogether. On the third square, I will put my ruler from that point diagonally across and make sure it lines up with these other ones as well. And then I can put another mark on the wall, and then I don't have any more. I'm only going to get one more in. So it's going to be just here. So see how suddenly it's just gone completely out of perspective? These are starting to look like they're rectangles. That's okay. We'll see how we go. But at least in here, they look like they're squared. And in here, they look like they're squared. It's sort of the center of the room that we want them to be quite squared. And we want to make sure that this first square here on the ground looks like a square or not like a rectangle. So once we've got those uprights happening, erase all these lines down here so you don't drive yourself insane. Or if you do want to drive yourself insane, feel free to keep the line. And this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, now drawing these grid down here again. So anything that is going to be drawn on this side of the room and around onto the floor will come from here. Anything drawn on this side of the room will be drawn from this vanishing point, will come down the wall along the floor. So let's go back to the second vanishing point and continue to draw our grid on the floor using our vanishing point. Go down to the bottom of each one of those squares where it meets the floor, the wall meets the floor, and continue to draw them across. Again, you may need a longer ruler. Now, if you don't have a longer ruler, and you've got something like an old piece of cardboard that's straight, like this is the back of one of my books. It's quite long, so I can use that as a rule if I want to. So find something that has a straight line if you need it. I'm just going to continue to do this through here. And through here and there and here, and this one. That's the last one I'm going to do on this side. So it's starting to really open up here. It's getting a little bit out of perspective, but that's okay. And then on this side, let's hope that this, oh yes, they sort of look like they're square. Good. And then follow that one. And then this one. Okay, that doesn't look like it's in the right area. Let's see what this third one does. It's going to look a bit odd. Anyway, there we go. And there we go. And now it's getting out of perspective, but I will draw the rest of it in anyway. So that doesn't look too bad. It's really, that's all I'm wanting to see of the room, because we are going to go back and use the same. So I'm just extending those up. So as you can see, it's starting to get a little bit odd around here size-wise, but we're not actually going to be drawing out that far, really. And if we do, it's not going to really matter that much, because we'll only really trace what's in this area here.
That's here.
Okay. So, oh, cup of tea. Don't let me forget my cup of tea, because I keep making them and then letting them go cold. All right, so that's our grid. Yay! What we are going to do is, oh, I've just had a cold shiver, is I'm going to come in here, if I can find the right one. I had it yesterday. I should have it again today. Is that that one? No, it's not that one. Is it that one? No, it's not that one. So I just have to... Yeah, there it is. That's the one I'm looking for. You guys would have, again, it would have been on that printout that I gave you all. You would have had this page. And this is a grid over that blue bedroom that we just did in 1 point perspective. We're not going to use this, but we're going to use it as a 2 point. We're going to use it to help us draw the 2 point. And to do that, I'll just get rid of some of this line work. We're going to actually, this is going to be the corner of our room. This is the corner of my room, and this is sort of how we're going to draw it. We're going to be drawing, standing here, looking this way.
Okay.
Okay? So I've just sort of vaguely lined up those two walls. So that wall will have 2 doors on it, and this wall will have the side tables and the 2 doodads. Now, get yourself some trace paper or some baking paper and pop it over the top of your drawing. No, that one. Oh, that one's broken. Trace paper. There we go. And over the top. Now, I'm not going to put it directly over my A3 sheet. I'm going to move it so that I've got the center of my paper over the center of my perspective drawing. All right? Then I'll stick it down. So I'm only going to stick it at the top so that I can lift it up and oh, now I've just stuck 2 pieces of stuff together and up the top like that. So that sort of also makes this look a little bit clearer. I'm going to zoom in a bit so that you guys can see what I'm doing a bit more. Just a tiny mini bit, and then I want it to move over that way. So you can just see my 2 vanishing points.
Yes.
Yes, that one there, that one there.
Yep.
And I will make this go down a bit. It's great the way this does this. It's fabulous. Okay. All right, there we go. Do that. All right, so now, like we did with the 1 point perspective, picking up my T-square because it's in the way. Like we did with our 1 point perspective, we're going to use this to draw our 2 point perspective. It's just because it's got a 500 by 500 grid over the top of it, all right? So again, we do the same thing as we did when we did the 1 point. I am going to just darken in these lines, just the bottom, just the wall, so I can see the walls, so that when I take this off, I can line it back up again with my drawing. Oops. And then this one down here, like that. And just this line up here. So I've got the corner of the room. So let's put in the windows, these 2 windows here. So if that's my corner there, which is this one here, which you can just see, and I go, okay, that's 1, 2, so it starts 2 of these in, so I go 1, 2, that's where it starts.
Yep.
And then I've got a meter and then another meter, remembering that each one of these are supposed to be 500. And I think we made the height of the windows 2500, which is great because it's already marked. So if I draw this line going straight up until it gets to the 25 grid height to there, and then I go back to this vanishing point over there because this draws all of these lines coming out.
Yep.
And I'm just going to draw that along as far as I possibly can without falling off my point. And then that is where one door, and this is the second door. Now the good thing about this is that we're not putting in this wall here at all.
Yep.
It'll be behind us. I'm just marking it off, so we might not even see that line in the end. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Now let's then mark these on the ground, on this grid, perspective grid on the ground. So again, it starts in just before the end of this first square.
Yep.
Finishes just before the next one. The bed starts on the second one out, and then we go 1, 2, 3. Whoops, you can't see that, sorry. Then you go 1, 2, 3, so I go 1, 2, 3. The bed finishes there, and then the next set of drawers or side table starts a little bit away from there, so I'm just sort of going to go, okay, it looks like it could be that, and it finishes over here, right, just on the outside of that one. Now the bed and the tables, well, the 2 side tables come out only by 500, which is here, so we can sort of draw those in quite easily by going back to our vanishing point on this side and drawing those lines until they come out to that first 500. Yep, good, you've got it. See, you know what you're doing. You do know.
I got an idea now.
You got an idea now?
Yep.
Okay. And then I can just use the existing line because it's there. And I know it's 500. And it's just going to do that. So there is my 2 side tables. The bed comes out 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, I know my bed's going to come out to here,
Yep.
to this line along here, and I will draw the bed coming out. So that's that one, and from that side, still following that line, draw it out 4 squares, and then I can draw this coming back. And so now we've drawn the windows or the
Yep.
doors, and we've drawn the bed and the 2 side tables. Now we need to give them height. And how we give them height is we use this back wall. So we know that each one of these are 500 coming out.
Yep.
We're going to say that the bed height and the 2 side tables are going to be 500. So to begin with, we need to draw up where our actual items are. So I'll do it here with this one. We draw up the wall until we reach that height mark.
Yep.
Okay. And this one as well. And we'll do it with the bed. Of course, we're making them all the same height. And it looks much better if we do. I don't know why. That actually is in the wrong place. I'll just get rid of that line. Let me just there we go. And then this one comes up here like that to the 500. And then we can just do the tops of these. So we've drawn the front and the back of our side tables.
Side tables.
Now we need to get the 500 out into the grid above this line here. So what I do is I normally just go from my vanishing point through the wall where those 2 points meet, and I just draw lines coming out into the perspective. Okay, all the way across, just on the 2 side tables. And then to get that point up there, you just draw it straight up. So sort of as in a 1 point perspective, anything that is vertical will remain vertical, will remain straight. It'll be at a 90-degree angle, it'll be always straight. In a 2 point perspective, that's what happens. In a 1 point perspective, it's the vertical and the horizontal, but in a 2 point, it's just the vertical.
Vertical, yeah.
And the only place you can measure with your ruler is this line here, because that's where you used your initial point, initial height with your ruler. That's the only place. Okay? So then now I'm going to come up so that each one of these lines joins up with those lines I drew out into the perspective. So now I've got the 500 out in the perspective. I'm going to come back. And if I put, I can just do it with that, but if I put my pencil there and make it go back to this vanishing point over here, and if I'm really clever, which sometimes I'm not, when I draw this line across here like this, it should be very, very close to where those 2 lines intersected. So unfortunately this side is looking a little bit out of perspective, but we're just going to go with it. All right, do that one and do that one. So we've got 2 boxes. Can you see the 2 boxes?
Yes.
Excellent, good. I just want to make sure everyone's okay. And I'm just going to I'm only doing these ones over here really lightly. And you do the same with the bed. So you follow this 2 points on the wall that you drew straight up to, and you bring both of those lines out into the perspective, like so. And then that one and that point there, those 2 points. And then once they come out, again, I need to get that up onto here. So I just draw a line going straight up until it intersects with that line I just drew out.
Yeah.
And just so it makes it a bit easier for, oh no, I can't do that. I just want to play with a sheet of paper so that I can pop it underneath here so that you guys, oh no, that's really horrible. Just those, excellent. I'll pop that in under here. Okay, so you could see how I drew them out.
Yep.
And then you draw straight up until they intersect, and that's going to give me, so at the moment all we're doing is we're drawing boxes basically, and then what we do with those boxes afterwards is what's going to turn them into beautiful pieces of furniture. And then go back to that one, which I'm going to have a bit of a problem with. So from here, draw it all the way across. So there's the bed. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now that I've done that, what time is it? I'll go until 12:30, and then we'll have half an hour for lunch or something. Is that all right, guys? Are you all right with that? Okay.
Yep.
All right. I might get a bigger sheet of paper because that way. Oh, it would be easy just to select one sheet, but no, it takes a long time. So there we go. So that's what we've got so far. Now, I might do this without the grid, just because it's might make it a bit easier. So I want to put a bed head on the back of this bed.
Yeah.
And I want to make it 1200 high from the ground. Now, I could come back to the corner of the room that's here.
Yeah.
Right? If I measure up this line, because this is the only line that's drawn to scale, with my 1 to 2.5, if I draw up there 1200, so I go from that point there and I go 1 meter, and that's 1200. Then when I bring this line out along here using this vanishing point, I then know that that is 1200 drawn out into my perspective. I'm doing it lightly all the way across. All right?
Yep.
So that's 1200 coming out to my perspective, and I can do a number of things. And we did something slightly different this time when we went about drawing this. We ended up drawing a different kind of bed head and side tables, which is kind of cool, and I quite like it. We could draw straight up here and just have a short bed head, but what we're going to do is we're going to have a bed head that starts from the corner of the room and goes all the way across to here. Yeah?
Yep.
So I'm just going to guess that. I'm going to look at how much that space is, and I'm going to go, oh, I think that's going to end up somewhere about here. This is, I'll line it up with that. This is just
Close to that one, yeah.
close to where it's going to be. If I don't like it, I'll move it if it doesn't look quite right. And then I'll extend this line out on the ground so that we can see the edge of it. So now what I've got is I've got one of those bed heads that goes all the way along behind these
tables.
Yeah. And what I am going to do with the two side tables is I'm going to make them look like they're floating. They're cantilevered off the top of the bed. And to do that, I'm just going to find a halfway point on here, on this vertical line or this vertical line, but it has to be on the object. So I'm going to say it's around about there. Again, I'm using my judgment.
Yep.
I do it on the closest part of the object to me because I can see better. And then I'm going to follow it back until it hits the back of there. And then I'm going to follow it back this way across the front. And I can do it on this side, or they won't really see it on this side of the bed, but I'll just put in what I can see. And then I will erase this because I don't need it anymore. So now I've got something that it looks like a floating side table that's attached to one of those really cool, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to get rid of this because it's doing my head in, and the bed is hiding it. So I'll just go in and erase what the bed is hiding on that side. I will erase some more away, but I just want to erase that much. So as I said, that side table, you're not going to see very much of it. You're just going to see something that looks vaguely a little bit like that. So now I've got two of those really cool side tables that just sort of sit and come out from a really cool bed head that's against the wall here. I can give the bed head a bit of a thickness if I want to. But to be honest with you, you won't really see it. And we might just end up, because the vanishing point is there and it's way past where it's supposed to be. And we might put a bit of thickness up here, but not very much. It's negligible. It's the word I'm looking for. So that's about it. Get rid of that, get rid of that. So now I've got this really cool thing happening here. I need to put pillows on, and I need to smooth the bedding out and change the bedding slightly. So before I do the pillows, I'm going to find the center of here by top of here, because I want this as a halfway point. I can either guess it, or I can do, you know how we do this, where you go from one. Okay, so there's the center point of that top part there. I just wanted that because I know that that's going to be 250, and I just want to use that marking of 250 and just very gently draw it along where the bed is, just there. Back to my vanishing point over here. Now it's just so I know where I want to start my pillows. And where I want to finish them up the wall here, I'm going to have to very, very gently, I'll have to erase it afterwards, but I'm very gently going to draw a line up there from the back of the bed, because these intersect with each other. And I'm going to say halfway up the wall, halfway up here, which I don't know, I'm guessing that one, I'm going to draw another line, another dot, and that's going to be an angle. Has no vanishing point, this angle. That's just to say that's where my pillow's going to sit.
Pillow start.
And from that point there back to this vanishing point here, I will draw a line across there, and then I'll follow this up, straight line as I did on the other side, where that intersects from there and to the other side of the bed where I drew the first line. That gives me
the pillows,
where the pillows are going to sit. Now, if you think that they look a bit too short and dumpy, you can slightly change the side. You can make them sit up further by bringing this in and making it a much straighter line. I'm just going to leave mine as they are at the moment. I'll find the halfway point of those two pillows, and hopefully I can, does that sort of, they look sort of, no, it doesn't, does it? Maybe it does that a bit more. That kind of look like two pillows. So
it does look like.
Okay, so then I'm just going to do that whole thing where you go, okay, pillow, pillow. Now I'm going to put that curve in so that it looks like it's fluffy. I'll erase that line and that line. back of the bed so that I start to see just a soft pillow. And here's my other pillow, which is going to come along here. I'll curve this one very slightly. Get rid of that. I need to curve that line too. So I'll just curve that slightly. And that one's going to be slightly curved. And just make that a little bit wibbly there and a little bit wibbly there. And then I've got a pillow. And again, if you want to put a pillow in front of it so it looks lovely, you can. Same sort of shape, just make sure you're sort of getting it somewhere in the center there. And make sure it comes out a little step further than the existing pillows. And then it looks like they're sort of, it's sitting in front. So that's going to be my other little pillow here. Or you might have one in front of the other, doesn't matter. That's my second pillow. There are my two really cool side tables. I'm just going to put a little bit of a top on that, on both sides, like that. And then I'm just going to do one of those weird, you know, the little handles that go in, like that, there, and do the same on this side. You won't see much of it, like that. So I've now got a timber background. One of these, this is going to be timber as well, that's going to be timber, and I'm going to think about the bed. Now I want the bed to look like it's floating as well. Woo! So to do that, I will find the halfway point between here and here, and I can do that a number of ways. I can guess it, or I can do diagonal, so that I can see where the halfway point is of that whole object. There, I'm going to put my ruler on that point, and then I can draw a line coming down to there, and once it reaches there I can then follow it back up to here, like so. So there is how high I want it to come off the ground. This is going to be my mattress. But I need my mattress to sit on top of something, so I'm going to come down just a tiny little bit on that same line, draw a line going back, and draw a line going back this way, because that's going to be the timber part of the bed. I might even make it sit out a little bit on that end. And then I'll erase away all of this. So the bed is actually, looks like it's floating. It's actually got structure that's in the middle of it, so it doesn't fall over or break. So don't panic about that. And then I'm just going to get rid of the other bits and pieces that are annoying me so I can see my drawing a bit better. There we go. So there's my timber. And again, I'm going to bring this in and create a tiny little bit of a lip so that it looks like there's a thickness there. Okay, so that's the thickness of the timber, and then it comes down. And then I'm going to get rid of these lines. The reason why I'm getting rid of these is because we want the bed to look really nice and soft. So I'll get rid of those two lines. And as we did on the other one, I'm going to make that smooth. So I'll turn that corner into a slight curve, and I'm going to do it down the bottom here as well. So it looks like it's a tucked in sheet. And I'll come to this corner here and very, very slightly do a little curve there. So it looks nice and smooth, and I'll curve this because you might see it in the distance. And then I have my new bed. Okay, getting rid of all those lines, and I might have to extend this line so it goes under the bed so we can see it, and that's going to make it look like it goes under the bed. Now I will have to trace this off again just to clear up some of these lines.
Yep.
All right, but so you just start with the simple shapes, and then you can create anything from there. You can do anything you want to from there. I might just, this is going to have a fold over. So I'll put a fold over there, make it come a little bit off, and then make that come out there. And then that'll come down like that. There's my fold over. These people have really tidy beds, okay? Just thought I'd like to let you know. So I've got it, you know, they've folded it over, whatever. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. And then I might put a couple of lights on there. I'll use this center line that I've got originally on top of here, and we'll go back to the wall, and then I'll draw a line going straight up. Now, you can do a number of things. It's up to you how you want to do it. Good grief. And the other one's going to be somewhere around about there. Now you can do a number of things here, guys. You can either draw in the same circular thing with a lamp on it, or you can draw something that sits on the wall of the thing, so it's a sort of like a nightlight with a switch underneath it, so that it sits on the actual thing. Or you can do, from that same point where the switch is, you can do something that's going to look like one of those weird arm things that people have with a light on the end of it. You know, one of those? Yep. And then do the same on this side. This one's going to go straight up and a little bit at that angle. They don't have to be exactly at the same angle, but that's just what I'm going to do. It's going to be one of those. And it'll just be a little bit smaller than the other one. Not by much, but a little bit smaller. So it's one of those ones that comes over the bed and you angle them whichever way you want them to be. Put a little switch underneath it, and then that's it. And then I will render this up. I'll trace it off again so I've got nice smooth lines and it's clearer, and then I'll render this up so that this is timber, but we'll do that next week. Okay?
Yep.
So if you can do at least do this much of the drawing, that would be good. And if you could take a photo of it and send it to me, that would be lovely. So put it in week 3, and then we can render it after that, unless you want to have a go at rendering it yourself anyway. And then that's as much as I'm going to do for this. Oh, I might put a picture in. I might just put a picture in. I'll use those 2 points that I had for the bed. And I'm just going to make it somewhere here. I'm just going to make that there, and then I'm going to put that one there. Ta-da! So there's a picture above the bed. Or you can have 2 pictures. You can have 2 small ones there, or not. Or you can have a piece of sculptural something, if you like, whatever you want to do. So just do as much as you can of this, and then trace it off so it's not messy like mine is. All right? But that's exactly the same, using exactly the same layout, and then changing what the bed's going to look like, what the side table, and what this back panel is going to look like. You know, you can go on from there. You can, I won't go into it now. All right, so let's have a little bit of a break for lunch until, it's 19 past 12. So would 1 o'clock be all right with you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Nice. Yep.
We'll come back at 1 o'clock, and then we'll move on to the next thing. I won't keep you here all day, honey. All right?
All right, no.
But we do need to go on to the other bit next. All right.
I like the class today, actually. I'm learning. Thanks.
Oh, good.
I really want to learn this perspective-wise because I'm very bad in this one, so just enjoying the class. Thank you.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear that.